being an informant implies some formal connection and ongoing relationship with the FBI. And if it's a hoax, why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax?
Well, they tried to defend him being in the Epstein files by saying he's an FBI informant, and now House Speaker Mike Johnson is walking it back. Why isn't everyone talking about this? My name is Brittany Page. I host the Page Perspective right here on YouTube, but today I am Jesse's guest host because if you were with me on Friday, you know that he has COVID. He's still sick. He's still struggling. He's doing okay. He is reading your messages, so keep commenting, keep sending him well wishes, and hopefully he will be back with you very soon. But today, I am here because we have so much to get to. We have so much to get you through today. I cannot believe all the news that happened just even over the weekend. So let's kind of go through what has been happening with the Epstein files just really briefly, and then we'll get into this wild claim that Donald Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein. Can you believe it? So Donald Trump, of course, ran on this platform of exposing the cabal of left-wing child sex traffickers, right? Politicians, people that were on the left. These were people, billionaires, anyone that was on the left that he wanted to demonize. And he really leaned into the QAnon conspiracy theories about this at every chance he could. Then he took office. He completely reversed course. He gave Jeffrey Epstein's co-conspirator Ghislaine Maxwell a move to a cushy prison, a lower minimum security prison. The Wall Street Journal recently reported that Donald Trump was informed that his name is in the Epstein files, and ever since, everyone in the administration, including Donald Trump, has been working overtime to downplay his involvement. We have had the House Oversight Committee releasing tens of thousands of pages of documents, but many of them are ones that were already in the public or they're duplicates. And so we went from this, we're gonna release the files are on my desk, to now the Epstein files are a Democrat hoax. That's kind of been the trajectory quickly in 60 seconds. So then we had this weekend House Speaker Mike Johnson make a claim, this happened on Friday actually, about Donald Trump being an FBI informant who helped to take down Epstein.
But Trump called it a hoax yesterday.
What Trump is referring to is the hoax that the Democrats are using to try to attack him. He has never said or suggested or implied. I've talked to him about this many times.
It comes across as calling the whole thing a hoax.
It's been misrepresented. He's not saying that what Epstein did is a hoax. It's a terrible, unspeakable evil. He believes that himself. When he first heard the rumor, he kicked him out of Mar-a-Lago. He was an FBI informant to try to take this stuff down. The president knows and has great sympathy for the women who have suffered these unspeakable harms. It's detestable to him. He and I have spoken about this as recently as 24 hours ago.
So, yeah, quite the claim. Haven't heard that one before. Where did this come from? Just dropping this out of nowhere. And I cannot wait to see what you guys think about this. Please let me know in the comments. But Mike Johnson is already walking this back because, of course, the press was like, wait a minute. We've never heard this before. He's an FBI informant. You have to tell us more. And now Mike Johnson is like, wait a minute. I misspoke. And let's look at this Washington Post reporting. Johnson backs off claim that Trump was an FBI informant in Epstein case. Quote, the speaker is reiterating what the victim's attorney said, which is that Donald Trump, who kicked Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago, was the only one more than a decade ago willing to help prosecutors expose Epstein for being a disgusting child predator. The statement from Johnson's office read. Trump and Epstein were one-time friends who had a falling out, particularly after a fight between the two in 2004 over buying an oceanfront property in Palm Beach, Florida, which Trump went on to win. Now, pausing just briefly because this bit of reporting here conveniently ignores that just a few weeks ago, Donald Trump made a claim that Jeffrey Epstein stole a child from his Mar-a-Lago resort, and that was part of the falling out. And then he said that child was Virginia Giuffre, a woman a child who was abused by Jeffrey Epstein, who went on to be a woman who helped to take down Jeffrey Epstein, and who died by suicide. Donald Trump said that Part of his falling out with Jeffrey Epstein was that he stole a child from the Mar-a-Lago spa, and the Washington Post doesn't want to mention that. Let's remind everybody, just so we're all on the same page here.
Mr. President, Epstein has a certain reputation, obviously. Just curious, were some of the workers that were taken from you, were some of them young women?
Were some of them young women? Well, I don't want to say, but everyone knows the people that were taken. And it was the concept of taking people that work for me is bad. But that story's been pretty well out there. And the answer is yes, they were.
Yes, they were young
Yeah.
women. What did they do?
In the spa.
Jobs in the spa.
Yeah, it's people that work in the spa. I have a great spa, one of the best spas in the world at Mar-a-Lago. And people were taken out of the spa, hired by him. In other words, gone. And other people would come and complain, this guy is taking people from the spa. I didn't know that. And then when I heard about it, I told him, I said, listen, we don't want you taking our people, whether it was spa or not spa. I don't want him taking people. And he was fine. And then not too long after that, he did it again. And I said, out of here.
Mr. President, did one of those stolen, persons, that include Virginia Jeffrey?
I don't know. I think she worked at the spa. I think so. I think that was one of the people, yeah. He stole her. And by the way, she had no complaints about us, as you know. None whatsoever.
He stole her. About a child. About a human being he's talking about there. Virginia Giuffre's family, of course, after this clip surfaced, said that it raises serious questions about what Donald Trump knew and when he knew it. And I'm sure this new comment from Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, also raises questions for her family about what he knew and when he knew it, given his history of denials about involvement and what he knew, and downplaying his involvement and downplaying what he knew. But let's get back to this Washington Post reporting, and then we're going to get a reaction from Republican Thomas Massie to all of this as well. Quote, about a dozen of Epstein's accusers gave emotional testimony last week outside the U.S. Capitol about the abuse they suffered from Epstein and his jailed associate Ghislaine Maxwell. During the event, Brad Edwards, an attorney who represents many of the victims, told reporters that Trump has done an about-face on Epstein since 2009. Edwards said that when he spoke to Trump in 2009, Trump was friendly to the victims' plight and did not think it was a hoax and was trying to help. This, of course, referring to the fact that Donald Trump is now, of course, calling the Epstein files a hoax after making it a pillar of his campaign and leaning into QAnon every chance he gets. He is now completely backing away from it and calling it a Democrat hoax. And yet, where is QAnon on this? Where are all of those people in dark basements, on forums, on the internet, posting all kinds of wild conspiracy theories? Where did they go as Donald Trump has taken this trajectory in just 6 months, saying that he's going to release everything, saying the files were on Pam Bondi's desk, to now they're a Democrat hoax, and Mike Johnson is calling him an FBI informant for the first time. We've never heard this before. Now he's walking it back because, and I would assume, he's so desperate to get the media off this story that he'll say anything. But, he's not the only Republican talking about this. In fact, Congressman Thomas Massie was asked to respond specifically to Mike Johnson making the claim that Donald Trump is an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein. And of course, Thomas Massie is working with Congressman Ro Khanna to pass the Epstein Files Transparency Act. And this is to force the Trump administration to release more documents about Epstein and his sex trafficking operation. And of course, there's been a lot of pushback from the Trump administration. They're saying we have released all of these documents. We know they are mostly duplicates, mostly things that have already been out in the public. But here is Congressman Thomas Massie this weekend being asked to respond to Mike Johnson's claim that Donald Trump was an FBI informant on Jeffrey Epstein.
We are joined now by Congressman Massie and Khanna. Thank you both for joining us this morning. Congressman Massie, let me begin with you and get your response to Speaker Johnson right there. He says you've been misled. He also suggested at one point this week, seemed to suggest that President Trump was an informant to the FBI about Jeffrey Epstein. Your reaction?
Well, they haven't been misled, and the speaker's point that the victim's safety is compromised or privacy is false, because when we asked the survivors at our event, did they support the legislation that Ro Khanna and I have introduced, they all said yes. Now, I don't know if the speaker misspoke when he said that Donald Trump was an informant. The lawyers for the victim said that Donald Trump had been helpful in 2009 in their case by giving them information, but being an informant implies some formal connection and ongoing relationship with the FBI. I don't know what that's all about. I think the speaker needs to clarify that. And if it's a hoax, why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax?
Now that's a good question. Why was Donald Trump an informant to a hoax? If it's a hoax, if it's a Democrat hoax, why was he an FBI informant to a hoax? This is something that we cannot just let Mike Johnson get away with. He can't just release a statement and say that he was referring to what the attorney said about Donald Trump being helpful. There's a difference between the attorney saying that Donald Trump was previously helpful, providing information about Jeffrey Epstein, and that he was an FBI informant. Those are two very different things. We cannot let Mike Johnson just sweep this under the rug. But let's get to the second clip, and this will be the thing that we wrap with. This is going to be Thomas Massie being asked, why do you think the president is resisting releasing this information?
Why do you think, Congressman Massie, the president is resisting the release?
I think it's going to be embarrassing to some of the billionaires, some of the donors who are politically connected to his campaign. I also think Democrats are going to be implicated in this, Democrat donors. And when you get to the billionaire level, a lot of these folks give to both parties anyway. There are probably intelligence ties to our CIA and maybe to other foreign intelligence, and the American people would be shocked, I think, to know that our intelligence agency was working with a pedophile who was running a sex trafficking ring. So these are the reasons I think that they're resisting this. But we can't avoid justice just to avoid embarrassments for some very powerful men.
So I guess I appreciate Thomas Massie's honesty there, because he's essentially admitting that Donald Trump wants to protect billionaire donors at the expense of victims of child sex trafficking. I mean, you heard that, right? He's wanting to prioritize the billionaire donors that may be embarrassed at being implicated in child sex trafficking. That's not good, right? I mean, can we all agree that that's really bad? I mean, Thomas Massie calls himself a Republican. In this Republican Party, Donald Trump is the leader, and he's admitting that Donald Trump wants to protect billionaire donors at the expense of victims who want to expose the people that were complicit in their abuse. It's disgusting in numerous ways. And again, this is a story that we cannot let go of. So I would ask you to please share this video with someone that you think needs to hear the message. And also that you call and leave a fewer than 3-minute voicemail and let Jesse know what you think about this topic, 714-576-4054, or you can send him an email to daily@dollemore.com. My name is Brittany Page. I host the Page Perspective right here on YouTube, and I would love for you to subscribe to me there. You can also subscribe to Jesse's channel right here. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/idoubtitpodcast. You can become a channel member by clicking the join button below for as little as $1.99 a month. And as Jesse would say, be genuine, take care of one another.